everybody. The video is Keydron Bryant, and the remix is with Will I Am.
Yes, thank you very much.
That's okay. That's okay.
I'm going to be playing that now. Make sure everything is intact, and you're going to have to give me the thumbs up and that to let me know that it is okay. How do I open you now? I'm going to start it back.
I'm a young black man doing all that I can to stand. Oh, but when I look around and I see what's being done to my kind every day, I'm being hunted as prey. My people don't want no trouble. We've had enough, sure go. I just wanna live. God protect me. I just wanna live. I just wanna live.
I was just a black boy brought up in the white world. I just wanna ask God if I'm in the right world. Is my life a test or is my life a curse? They put us in an ambulance, got us in a hearse, cause another brother deceased, but it doesn't matter. Killed by the police while we in a handcuff. I don't wanna take a knee, I just wanna stand up. Where's the new Huey P? Call it Black Panthers. Just do the math, they subtract us like minus. Fuck COVID, KKK is the virus. We are not afraid, we will not stay quiet. They will always label a rebellion or riot. Kill a black man seems to be their assignment. White supremacists terrorize the environment. Guns and a canine, tasers and sirens. I just wanna live, I don't wanna live violent. We don't want violence.
My people don't want no trouble. We've had enough, sure go. I just wanna live. God protect me. I just wanna live. I just wanna live. I just wanna live. God protect me. I just wanna live. I just wanna live.
Sorry. Yes, I come across that today, and as I said, it's very touching and poignant, and for a young man, it just goes to show how deep this really goes with all of us. So I'm going to do a libation, and then we can get our brother Patrick to start. I'm going to look for him to see if I can get him to be a co-host too. Where's the Patrick? Okay. Well, greetings, everyone.
Greetings, G.
Greetings. Letting people in at the same time. I've got some water here to do some libation. I know I'm not a professional at it, but I just basically pour libation to give thanks. And if you want to, you can get some water to also pour libation to your ancestors to give thanks. To our ancestors and all whose heads and shoulders we're standing on, from the time that we've got taken from the shores of where we lived to all the different places they've placed us, and the fact that they persevered. I give thanks for their perseverance. Ashe.
Ashe.
I also give thanks for the strength that they've given us to put us where we are now. And I'm calling on our ancestors to give us strength to carry on through this unprecedented time of uncertainty that we're actually living in now. A lot of us know the truth, but the truth is being, as I said, being obscured. And the ones that, of the powers that be, are determined to get their own way. But we have got to be just determined to get our own way. There is more of us than them. You know, this is the time for any time for us to be banding together. Now is the time for us to band together. All of us, I'm talking about across the board, all nations. So I'm ancestors to give strength so that we can get through this. Ashe.
Ashe.
Now I'm going to say thanks to my ancestors, my personal ancestors. You can say thank you to your personal ancestors. I give thanks for the fact that I am the person who I am today because of them, and also because of, as I said, the lineage has brought me to. And I hope that the messages that are my ancestors gives me, just like the messages your ancestors give you, be as clear as this water, so we can hear, we can heed, and we can understand what they want and what they would like us to do. The right messages to get us through the right doors and to open the right pathways. Ashe.
Ashe.
And with that, I am going to say, I'm going to introduce our first presentation, which is Patrick Montague, and he's going to be talking about clinically induced. Oh gosh, you're going to have to help me because I haven't got the paper in front of me. I'm all over the place. So I'm just going to introduce you by name. Everybody, please, could you hold off for your questions? Any questions that comes up, please write them down during the presentation so you can ask afterwards. Make sure you got some water to hydrate yourself. And now I shall introduce you to our one and only Patrick Montague. Please introduce yourself, and also, forgive me, say what your presentation is about. Sorry.
We've done it, and it's all on the computer, isn't it? So you can't remember it all.
Yeah. You need to unmute yourself. Patrick, you're muted.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see. Well, my talk today is called, and I thought of it when I was just meditating recently, it's called Chemically Induced Crime, which I think it's necessary to talk about this now because, as you are well aware, there's a lot of crime going on in our community and being imposed upon our community by other communities. So I want to just talk a little bit about the brain and how the brain can be basically changed, if you like. The chemicals in the brain can be actually converted and predispose a particular person towards crime and committing crime. So hopefully, if everything goes okay, can everybody see what I can see? Can you see the PowerPoint now?
Not really. Not yet.
No, we can see you. So if you go to share screen.
Oh, okay, yeah, share screen. Right, I'll try it.
All right.
Yeah, I'm kind of new to this technology.
I think we all are. We're having to learn on the job.
Can you see that?
No.
Okay.
See.
Well, I did hit share screen, so I don't know what happened there. I'll try again.
So if you
is this PowerPoint open? Is it open?
Yeah, the PowerPoint is open, and I've chosen it on the thing that's come up. So I don't know. Maybe it's this one.
So did you highlight it and both also press? There's two buttons along on your left-hand side, at the bottom. One is about the computer sound, and the other one is to optimize your screen. And it's what you want to show us, and then you click share after.
Right.
There you go.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
You're in.
Thank you. Yes. So basically, I'm going to be talking about the brain and how certain functions in the brain work, and how the brain can be affected by the food, the very food that we eat, and how the food industry actually knows exactly what chemicals and nutrients can actually cause an imbalance in our brains. Many people don't give this any thought when they maybe chomp on a hamburger or they chomp on some Doritos or whatever, but this is what's going on in our brain, and this is one of the reasons why people are chemically induced to commit crime. And as simple as it may seem, what's going on in the brain is that initially there is a blood sugar drop, and once that blood sugar drop takes place, then that can cause an imbalance in the brain, causing the person to become hyperactive, causing the person to secrete more of this, what they call glutamate, and also other chemicals as well. So, but let's start from the very beginning and look at what really happens from the moment we come into this world. So for a lot of people who came into this world, unless they came into this world and they were given a natural birth, if they were born in a hospital, the doctors tend to give a thing called synthetic oxytocin, which the product name is Pitocin. And this, one of the significant things I found about this is that it blocks ancestral memory, along with the other side effects that it causes: headache, confusion, slurred speech, hallucinations, vomiting, weakness, muscle cramps, loss of coordination, feeling unsteady, seizures, and fainting. But the main thing here is that it blocks your ancestral memory, so stopping you from being able to communicate back to your ancestors. And Auntie Jean was just demonstrating earlier on doing the libation. She clearly is able to communicate back to her ancestors like we should all be doing, but sometimes you might want to speak about doing a libation to certain people and they wouldn't want to listen to you. They would say, what do I want to do that for? Those people are dead, or whatever reason they might choose. But this is one of the things that's being done to actually stop us from communicating back to our ancestors, which is to block the ancestral memory, where this chemical, from the moment you come into the world, they're giving you this chemical, or they give it to the woman who's having the baby, and by giving her this to help with the contractions and the labor, they're actually damaging the person at the same time and damaging the baby. So now, aside from the fact that they're giving young black babies vaccinations, which are also damaging, they give you a diet, or they typically promote a diet that is low in thiamine. Now, the thing about thiamine, it predisposes a person to becoming violent. This is what they found according to the statistics. So if you eat a diet that is low in vitamin B1, which they call thiamine, you will get the following: sensitive to criticism. How many people do you know like that? You know, you might say, hey man, you're looking bigger. You say, what? You calling me nigger or whatever? You know, people are like this. They will literally flip on the flip of a coin and want to be violent against you for whatever reason, or let's just say very sensitive to criticism, hostile, aggressive. These are the symptoms. These are the side effects of you having a thiamine deficiency, along with possibly being depressed, easy to anger, inability to think clearly. Many people that I speak to in my practice have what they call brain fog, where the brain is just congested. They have lots of chemicals buzzing around in their brain, and it's not allowing them to think properly. Many times I get into conversation with people, and it's usually people who are in their 60s or 70s, sometimes even younger, it could even be 30s. But a lot of time it's people who are supposedly what they would call middle-aged, and they can't remember things. They say, what was the name of that man arm? What name again arm? You know, and they're never able to actually get the name of what they're talking about. And I know I'm guilty of that. We probably all are. So what I'm saying is the thiamine is what we need to be paying attention to. Thiamine comes into the family of vitamin B. So ideally, we want to take vitamin B complex, really, so that we can get the correct amount of thiamine. You don't want to overdose on thiamine. You probably might only need about 100 milligrams of this vitamin if you're taking it in supplement form. But thiamine, the problem with thiamine is that when you eat a diet that's high in refined carbohydrates, this drops your thiamine levels. And that's where the problem lies. So anytime you're eating crisps, anytime you're eating cooked potatoes or chips, or anytime you're eating sugars, any type of sugar or processed food in general, these processed foods like white flour, for example, white flour has been depleted of over 20 vitamins and minerals, and one of them is thiamine. So when you get into this white flour dumpling and rice and peas type of diet, it tends to drop your thiamine levels very easily. Thiamine is one of those vitamins, easy to get hold of, but also very easy to lose. So if you're eating natural food, you shouldn't have a problem. But when you're eating refined carbohydrates, as I said, this thiamine can be lost. So I won't go on too much about that. So now some people have said to me, well, Patrick, where's your documentation? Where is your evidence to prove that what you're talking about is really true? And I say, well, there have been many studies that have been done. Mainly in America, I find. America, they've done a lot of studies on when they had, let's say, children who were delinquent, badly behaved, practicing what they call antisocial or asocial behavior. They found that when they changed their diet, their behavior automatically just corrected itself. And this was done in a place called Philadelphia. In the Philadelphia public schools, they did this. They changed the diet because they noticed that the children were really badly behaved, and they noticed a drastic improvement in their behavior. So one of the things that they were doing, they were very irritable. They had disruptive behaviors. They were restless. They had learning problems, which learning problems can be also a sign of a glutamic acid deficiency. Anytime you get into meat consumption, when you cook meat, you actually lose glutamic acid, which is an amino acid, and you lose lysine. Yeah. So once they changed the diet, everything changed, and automatically they became better behaved. Now, what is it inside of the brain that's causing this particular behavior imbalance? Well, there's a part of your brain they call the nucleus accumbens, which is one of the things that's causing the addiction. This is what's setting you up for addiction. Once you stimulate a part of the brain they call the nucleus accumbens, the nucleus accumbens is near the center of the brain, and its functions are such as motivation or positive behavioral reinforcement, as it says here. But this is what really gets you addicted. Once you get addicted, the nucleus accumbens in your brain has been stimulated. And once you get addicted, it's very difficult to become unaddicted. So what's really going on with the nucleus accumbens is that there is a huge amount of dopamine that is being produced by the nucleus accumbens in the brain, and this can also affect your memory, learning ability, and also predispose you to becoming addicted to the food. So one of the things the scientists have now realized as well is that there is a role that nutrition can play in your genetics. This was actually documented by a doctor called Dr. Russell Blaylock. He details the evidence that the scientists have researched, which shows that when a person is lacking in proper nutrition, it can have a damaging effect on your genes and literally switch the genes off. If a parent drinks alcohol, this can affect the growth and the development of a child for 3 generations, you see. And also sometimes can predispose a child to becoming addicted because you're taking in an addictive substance into your body. So for example, when you drink alcohol, it's not just alcohol you're drinking. You're drinking a long list of chemicals. So for example, in wine, you've got about 70 toxic chemicals. In beer, you've got 30 toxic chemicals. One of the toxic chemicals you can find in wine is PVP. And there are other chemicals, but PVP is what they use in hairspray. What it's doing in the wine, I've no idea. But for mostly, what they're trying to do is to preserve this wine, to keep it and make it last longer. And they don't really care what they have to do to make a product last long as it can make money for them. So now, there was a doctor by the name of Dr. George M. Gould. He discovered that nutrition can affect behavior from as far back as 1910. So this is not something new that I'm talking about. This is something that's very old information. And I'm sure you all know that our ancestors knew long before Dr. George Gould in 1910 that the food you eat can actually affect your behavior and your state of consciousness and your overall well-being. But it's only now, recently, since certain children in school have been misbehaved, now they're starting to slowly pay attention to diet. And it is very slow, because a lot of times when these people are in the schools supposedly giving the children healthier food, there are still some unhealthy foods that they're giving to the children as well, which is still setting them up for a psychological, physiological problem. But bear in mind, this has been known for literally over 100 years, that the food has always played a role in your mind and your state of consciousness. Now, this particular piece here is about the effect of sugar on the brain. And what they found is that in prisoners in America, they found that 75% of them had problems with high sugar levels, what led to hyperactivity. And they had this high blood sugar problem since they were children. There was one particular person who almost committed murder. His name was Raymond, where what happened, his mother would give him sugar when he would become hyperactive when he was a child, and it would calm him down. And then all of a sudden, shortly afterwards, he would need more sugar so that he would become calm again. And yourselves as parents, you may well notice when your children, you give them certain sugary foods, it calms them down for a bit. And then after maybe a couple of hours, they become hyperactive, they become sometimes aggressive or want to fight somebody. And all of this is down to what you're putting in the child's mouth, the food intake. It's very important. So now there was a doctor called Dr. Stitt. He stated, he's done some research on young offenders. And he says that when young offenders were consuming high amounts of sugar, i.e. such as NutraSweet or sucralose or whatever, 56% of them violated their probation. But when they changed their diet, that figure dropped down to 8%, only broke their probation. So look at that. Just from them changing their diet, they've actually stopped the young offenders from breaking their probation. So this is a significant landmark. Eventually, I see that the way things are going, the people who control the food industry are going to have to really listen to what the people really know and what the people think. and what the people have observed. The people have observed that food is definitely having an effect on how people behave. And it can actually, if a person is consuming the right diet, a balanced diet, it can actually reduce the crime rate. Research studies show hypoglycemia could initiate anxiety, neurasthenia, hysteria, and psychosis. This is absolutely true, because what's going on is that when the blood sugar is being dropped, there is it's like a positive feedback loop. The blood sugar drops. When that happens, the person starts to produce what they call norepinephrine and epinephrine, which are adrenal type hormones. And these adrenal hormones then cause you to become irritable, and that causes you to produce glutamate, which then makes you very hyperactive and possibly a lot of times aggressive. It's a cycle. So once they get you in that cycle, it's very difficult to get out of it, because you're constantly wanting more sugar to fuel you so that you can actually feel normal. A bit like a person who drinks alcohol. After a few years of drinking a lot of alcohol, they want to drink more alcohol, not to feel high anymore. They just want to feel normal. That's all they want. They just want normality. But normality is never a thing they can ever really get. So they go from a point where they're shaking a lot, then they drink the alcohol, then they stop shaking, and then they just still feel a little bit weary, or they just don't feel themselves. They feel a bit jittery. So they're never really balanced, because you cannot get a straight piece of wood from a crooked tree. The alcohol is always going to cause an imbalance, and so is sugar. So what we're really seeing here is that the same effect that alcohol is causing, which is a drop in blood sugar, the same thing that sugar is doing. Sugar in excess is leading to high insulin production, which leads to hypoglycemia, which is what I said earlier on, leads to norepinephrine and epinephrine production, which is going to stress you, and that leads to the glutamate and cortisol production, which these are basically stress hormones that your body is producing because your body is under stress. Now, here's some research that was done by the Alabama prison system. When the diet was changed to a healthier diet, there was a 42% decrease in violent behavior in the Alabama prison system. Look at that, a 42% decrease in violent behavior just by changing the diet alone. So this is giving you an idea of how, when you basically eliminate or drop to a very low level sugar and processed foods and convert to a natural diet, the benefits you can actually get for yourself. It will basically be giving you more balance when you eat natural greens, whole grains, nuts, seeds, and so on. So when you get into alcohol, when you get into things like sugar and refined carbohydrates, these are typically the minerals that you are losing from your body. Magnesium, which helps to stabilize the nervous system. Folate is good for the reproductive system. So is zinc. If you're lacking in zinc, a zinc deficiency has been linked to people who get schizophrenia. So that's just one mineral, and once you replace that one mineral, it can lessen your chances of getting that problem of schizophrenia. And how many people do you know being diagnosed as having schizophrenia, when let's say a moderate dose of zinc on a daily basis could have changed all of that? Another mineral that's not here, but is very good for helping people with brain function, is called choline. Choline is a very, very powerful mineral. It helps to balance the nerve transmission. It's good for the brain function. It's good for memory as well. I use it for memory. It's very, very good for your memory. And you could take that, if you have a problem with memory, you could take ginkgo and gotu kola, and that mineral you would take would be the choline with the zinc as well. That would be a good combination to take, maybe with some B6 as well. B6, zinc, magnesium, all these minerals and vitamins are very good for increasing your memory. Now, when a study was done on 5 states, they found that an overwhelming majority of the prisoners tested had a deficiency in the above mentioned vitamins and minerals. So a lot of people that you've probably met on your daily travels, wherever you go, are probably lacking in these minerals and vitamins and not even aware of it. When you have a vitamin deficiency, your brain chemistry changes, but you're not really aware of the change. You just know you don't feel well, or you may be, to other people, they might notice that you are maybe a little bit irrational, or you're a bit sensitive to criticism, as I said before, or you're prone to being a little bit aggressive when you shouldn't be. But in your little world, it's perfectly normal to do what you do. So, for example, when you see what's been going on in the media right now, where men are being murdered, to the murderer, it seems perfectly normal and justifiable to do what they're doing, because most likely they're lacking in these minerals and vitamins that you're supposed to have in your brain to keep your brain balanced. So to the murderer, it doesn't seem like there's anything wrong at all. It only seems abnormal maybe later on when he is taken away and he's now possibly going to have to do a sentence and be put in jail for a while, and that might make him think about what he's done. But I've seen situations where there was one case about 20 years ago when crack was relatively new. It wasn't really new at that time, but it was, a lot of people were using it in America. And there was one particular young man who actually killed his mother. He murdered his mother. And that really shocked me. I thought, my God, how could anyone do that? And I remember there was something that was said where this young man was found in a cell screaming for his mother, that he'd now just realized what he did. So in the moment when the person's blood sugar drops, the serotonin drops, glutamate is sky high, of course this person will commit this crime, and it will be perfectly logical, or in their mind it seems like the right thing to do at that moment, or they're not capable of the thinking that's necessary to stop them from doing that. But all of what I'm talking about is the ingredients in the brain. Once you get rid of certain ingredients from the brain, it's going to predispose a person to a certain type of behavior. And now what we can do is we can even read someone's deficiency. I'm a nutritionist, by the way, so I can read someone's deficiency. I can read what they're deficient in by the behavior that they display or they manifest. Sometimes you talk to people, they can't keep still, you know, they're irritable, they're scratching themselves, they're going like this. They can't stop. I know people like that, and I used to be one of those people. But we can read the behavior and we can know exactly, okay, this person needs a sugar fix. They need a sugar fix because the problem that they've got with the sugar is not going to be solved overnight. So for the time being, they're going to have to get on some sugar for the time being until they wean themselves off of it. Because there are lots of dynamics with sugar. One of the things about sugar is that sugar can set you up for a seesaw addiction. There's a thing called a seesaw addiction with sugar. So what this seesaw addiction is, when a person tries to cut out sugar, typically they'll want to crave salt. And sugar is the ingredient that's associated with love and affection, and salt is associated with anger. So now when you cut out sugar out of your diet, you say, oh my God, and you may be angry. So now you want to gravitate to something that's crunchy, like a packet of crisps that's loaded with salt, to soothe your anger. So you get into that positive feedback loop of wanting some sugar, eating it, then feeling bad about it, then trying to cut it out. And when you cut it out, it gives you a predisposition or a craving for salt. Then you eat salt, and that puts you in a worse nutrient deficit. And what it's doing is pulling out, salt and sugar will pull out moisture from the veins and arteries and make them sit stiff and give you a stroke. It can set you up for a stroke. So the healthy diet is the only option we have. And if we don't go down this path of basically utilizing a natural diet, a healthy diet, there are going to be a lot of casualties as a result. And again, there's lots and lots of evidence and lots of studies that have been done on children, on adults, to show that yes, a healthy diet, a whole foods diet is way better than eating a junk food diet, even though the junk food diet is well advertised and people know about it. Like most people know about Kentucky, or most people know about all these other kinds of names, which I've even forgotten now. I can't even remember when I last walked past a fast food restaurant, because it's not in my world anymore. It was at one time. I actually held a record one time for eating the most amount of chicken drumsticks. Yeah, so that's where I'm coming from. But you have to change. So the Oklahoma Children's Center, they found that behavior improved by 40% when the healthy diet was introduced to the children. And their brain abnormalities, usually they have about between 13 and 14 brain abnormalities when they would put them on an EEG machine. And a lot of those brain abnormalities went to either 0 or near 0, like 2 or so, which is amazing that such a massive change can take place in a child's brain in such a short space of time. We're talking about just a few weeks here. So they're able to do that just by changing the diet, which is amazing. Oh yeah, one of the minerals also that we're lacking in, lots of people are lacking in this particular mineral. Why? Because if you're not eating tropical food, most likely you're going to have a selenium deficiency, because selenium has been found to be present in most of the tropical soil, but in the European soil it's tending to be deficient. As you know, they've done a lot of bad stuff to the soil. I don't even want to get into that, but the soil is depleted. And so selenium is one of the first minerals that has been depleted from the soil. And this causes mood swings, depression. It basically hinders your brain, stops your brain from functioning well, and can cause the very brain fog that I was telling you about before. It can cause infertility because it's highly present in sperm. Sperm becomes weak when it's lacking in selenium and zinc. So selenium is extremely important. Again, you can take it in supplement form, or you can take it basically from food. If you're eating a natural whole foods diet, most of your selenium needs will be met. You only need about maybe 200 micrograms a day. And if you had a halfway decent diet, you should be able to accomplish that. So yes, this is how things have radically changed since 1900. In 1900, people were only eating 4 pounds of sugar on average a day. Now the average person eats 129 pounds of sugar. So how do we get from there to there? And why is that happening? Change of diet. Once you change your diet, people are going to get obesity. They're going to get high blood pressure. They're going to get diabetes. They're going to get strokes. They're going to get damage to the nerve. One of the things that happens with sugar as well, and not just sugar, but things like aspartame as well, and things like MSG, monosodium glutamate, they damage the lining of the nerve, the external lining of the nerve. They call this the myelin sheath. Once the myelin sheath has been worn away, that predisposes that nerve to basically, it's now exposed. So therefore it causes a person to be a bit more jittery, a bit more irritable, and sometimes violent, because the nerve has been literally worn away. If you can imagine a wire, yeah, your nerve is like this wire here. Now the myelin sheath is the outer coating of the nerve. The inside of this, what they call the wire, the inside of it is the real nerve. But the nerve is covered with this myelin sheath for protection. But when you get into a high acid diet, and a diet high in sugar and refined carbohydrates, it damages the myelin sheath, exposing the nerve, predisposing you to violent behavior causing you to be very sensitive to criticism and very easy to anger and so on. One thing I must mention as well, one thing that they've cleverly done with the chemicals that they put in the food, the chemicals they put in the food have cause a blockage of the receptor sites in your nervous system. The receptor sites in the nervous system are damaged, and once that happens, it decreases your ability to feel good about yourself, and it decreases your ability to feel good about anyone that looks like yourself. And when you do that, it also decreases the communications between your brain and your reproductive system. So your brain and your reproductive system and your whole feeling about yourself has now been affected because you've actually taken in chemicals that are damaging to the nervous system. So these nervous system receptor sites, some people call them the axons and dendrites. Basically, the receptor sites in the nervous system are damaged and blocked, and you get this predisposition towards hating your own. Because like a lot of times people say to me, why is it black people can't stick together? Why we can't do nothing together? What's good? You know, that's one of the things that they are doing. They're actually doing that on purpose so that we would actually hate our very image, the image of ourselves. So actually what starts to happen when you start to get healthier and healthier, you start to love yourself more. When you start to love yourself more, you can love someone that looks like yourself more. Now, one of the things, I mentioned this in my last talk, but I didn't go into all the detail due to time, but the fruit juices are being used as well against us, and the fizzy drinks. So the fruit juices, I mentioned before that they did a study on the fruit juices, and they found 3 or 4 very highly toxic heavy metals. One of them was arsenic. Arsenic, they found high amounts in what was it? It was the apple juice. The apple juice contained a lot of arsenic, and this is what's causing a lot of damage to the brains of a lot of people. But it's also high in sugar, and since 1974, sugar consumption has doubled, and this leads to an increased amount of free radicals in the brain and causes the cells to age. So that's what's going on. When you drink a lot of fruit juices, when you drink a lot of sugary drinks and things like this, you are causing the cells to age. And when you get into what they call excitotoxins, which are aspartame, MSG, what you now are doing, you are causing the cells to become excited. That's why they call them excitotoxins. Excitotoxins cause the cells to kind of vibrate like this, and then they just explode or die. So now, as I was saying before, there is a certain part of the brain, they call this the temporal lobe. They can actually put you on a machine called the EEG machine, and they can stimulate this temporal lobe. And this temporal lobe here, once that is stimulated, it can cause you to become violent. This has been proven scientifically. The psychologists, psychiatrists, whatever, they know this, and they know that they can predispose a person to violence by merely stimulating this particular part of your brain. And they can do that with chemicals as well. So once they drop your sugar level, they drop your serotonin level, you're more likely to become violent. The hypoglycemia plus the temporal lobe dysfunction leads to rage and violence. And I must emphasize, the aspartame, the MSG, the actual side effects of those is rage and violence. There was a president in South Africa who wanted black people to become violent against each other. So he insisted that a particular chemical be put in the beer that black people typically drink to make black people angry. And that is documented in a book called Drugs Masquerading as Foods by a lady called Dr. Suzar, if you want to read up about that. So yes, as I said, if a doctor uses an electrode to stimulate the temporal lobe, this can make a person extremely violent, and they know this. Aspartame and MSG, highly damaging to the temporal lobes. In fact, if you gave MSG if you inject a mouse with MSG, it can make a mouse attack a cat and kill the cat. That's how powerful these excitotoxins are. Now, the invention of aspartame came about around about 1965. And in 1965, funny enough, and I would say at least for another 10 years after that, we never saw problems that people typically get. I mean, I remember growing up and I never saw anybody getting epilepsy and these types of problems of the nervous system. Now we're seeing a huge rise in epilepsy and other problems of the nervous system, and partly responsible is the aspartame, which they invented in 1965. So hypoglycemia has even been linked to kleptomania. I don't know if you know anybody who is prone to stealing or going into shops and taking things that don't belong to them, but they've actually made a link between hypoglycemia and kleptomania, people who go around and steal stuff. They just can't keep their hands on their own stuff. They got to steal somebody else's stuff. Dr. Ron Prince, 1980, he did a study because he wanted to find out about children who are hyperactive. And, you know, he did a study where he put them on a high-calorie, empty-calorie diet, and he wanted to find out why they were hyperactive. When he changed their diet, again, he found these children were no longer hyperactive. So again, I have to give you the research that's been done because this is what's public knowledge anyone can access, and you have a right to. Dr. Jane Goldman, 1986, University of Connecticut, found that giving children sugar equivalent to 1 can of Coke cause a mental decline in 30 minutes and cause a serious decline in 1 hour, so that the children would not be able to do well in examinations or tests. That's how powerful this thing is. It's causing a serious mental decline. So what's really going on with girls? Girls are being made deficient of iron via the brain, and this is causing them to do badly in tests. Boys are being made typically deficient in zinc, and this is affecting their brain function as well. So another one of the drugs that they supposedly gave us to get rid of our problems. So for example, if your child is a little bit hyperactive because you've given him sugar and you didn't know that sugar was causing the problem, you might take him to a doctor, a psychiatrist or whatever, and he might recommend this drug called Ritalin. Well, hear what? The side effect of Ritalin is, again, it's basically, I think, an expensive form of crack cocaine, I think was said by Dr. Layla Africa, the late Dr. Africa. But Ritalin, what it does, it's basically a serotonin reuptake inhibitor. So it stops you from producing serotonin in your brain. And if you are Black, you absolutely need serotonin. You produce serotonin in the center of your brain, which they call the corpus callosum. You produce this at nighttime. Sorry, in the daytime. You produce this at the daytime to help you to eliminate toxins from your body and keep the brain balanced and your mood balanced and everything like that. Now, when you're not doing that, it's causing a devastating effect on your brain. So the Ritalin is actually lowering serotonin and, again, predisposing someone to becoming even more violent because now they haven't got this hormone to help balance their brain.
Patrick, you got about 3 minutes.
Okay.
All right.
There's a tribe of people called the Qualla Indians in Peru. A study was done on these people. They're found to be very, very aggressive. When they changed their diet again, they noticed that they were less aggressive. I haven't got the statistics on how their aggression decreased, but they were extremely aggressive. And this was down to the potato consumption. So potatoes as well, cooked potatoes, can also cause you to have a spike in your blood sugar. Your insulin levels become depleted as well and predispose you to becoming violent and aggressive. So really, that's the essence of what I wanted to say. This talk has been about chemically induced crime, and I thank you for listening to me.
Thank you very much. Thank you. As anybody, I mean, there's a wealth of information there, because I mean, I know about the cravings with the sugar, and then you go on to the salt, and yeah, that brought back some some memories as well. But has anybody got any questions that would like to ask? Paul?
Yes, well, first of all, thank you very, very much for a very good presentation. There's a lot of information. I've taken some notes here. I've also, over the years, read about the connection between potatoes and alcohol, sugar and alcohol. In fact, a beer that they use, non-alcoholic beer, the claim is that it transformed the alcohol into sugar. So, and that is something that is marketed as being healthy. You know, you drink a non-alcoholic beer. I think one of the problems that we have as a people is that we are not very conscious of the foods that we need to eat. And you know, a guy says, well, scientist says, you are what you eat, and that's a fact. I've seen so many youngsters populate the fast food shops, the fried chicken shops after school. I mean, and most of them are Black. I think the family's structure has a very, very strong role to play. You know, a lot of parents I know are very, very busy trying to keep, you know, food on the table. Some of them work 2 or 3 jobs, sort of thing. But it's very important that families actually cook at home and encourage the youngsters to leave school and come straight home to get a decent meal. You know, but I'm happy to say that. Thank you very, very much for a very good presentation. Do you write any books at all?
I'm in the process of writing one at the moment.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Well, keep us informed then, you know, and definitely.
Yeah.
I will buy it. My pleasure.
Could we ask Paul to put Patrick to put his email and details in the chat, please?
Yeah, I think Auntie Gina's got my email, haven't you?
Yeah, but maybe individuals may want to take it down and maybe
Okay.
make contact with you, you know, following on from this presentation.
I could just give it to you now then. It would save me writing it.
You can.
So basically, my email is lordmontague1@hotmail.com.
Okay, as I say, you can give it, and also you can write it in the chat. There's a bubble there that's got chat on the side of it, so you can write it in there as well.
Yeah, I'm just no good with technology. I'm even surprised I'm here. I can't believe I'm doing all this technology.
Got until 11 o'clock to put your details in.
I'm nervous. I'm nervous to touch anything.
So, sorry, what was that? Lord Montague?
Lord Montague 1.
Hang on.
1@hotmail.com.
MONTIGUE, yeah?
No, MONTAGUE.
Right. 1@hotmail. Lovely,
Okay,
lovely.
Brilliant,
Yeah.
absolutely brilliant presentation.
Yeah.
There's so much
Great stuff.
information there.
Great.
So much information there, and the impact that it actually has on not just young people but all of us. So it's really important what you've said, Paul, about our ignorance in terms of not really knowing what's the best food to eat, and also change, because we've got accustomed to eating certain foods and we have difficulty changing. But I think the presentation is absolutely brilliant, and I would love us to have you back at some future date, Patrick.
Thank you. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions for Patrick?
Yeah, can I quickly ask, Bruce's I don't know if you can hear me.
Just about. We can just about hear you.
Okay, yeah, I'm kind of outside on a balcony, so forgive that.
Name?
I just want to ask, thank you for the, yeah, sorry.
What's your name, please?
Yes, sorry, I thought you highlighted. So this is Kunga.
Oh, hi, Kunga. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I've been listening for a while and dropping in and dropping out. But yeah, I'm well, thank you. And it's great to hear you. Great works, by the way.
Wonderful. And you too.
Bless his love.
Okay.
Yeah, so just wanted to ask the brother, and thank you again for the presentation. I just wanted to try and get a conclusion, because I understand the diet aspect of it, and working in schools and colleges as I do. yeah, I do believe, and I do definitely concur with what you're saying about a diet. But it seems to, in a sense, looking at this particular forum, are you then saying that young black men primarily are more predisposed to violence, partly because of their diet, largely because of their diet, rather than a sort of the social environment, you know, linking that with their education and racism, as opposed to the other communities? And then also, could you point me towards the military study? Because obviously when we look at the police and obviously the military at large, they're naturally arguably doing violent acts. So you're saying that that is more training as versus the nurturing within the African black community, if that question makes sense.
Right. I believe that when they put these chemicals together, they are deliberately, in my opinion, trying to affect a particular demographic. It's not by accident that the black young boys are sometimes in schools not doing as well as they could and should be doing. It's not an accident. So anytime you see certain things that are happening en masse to, let's say, thousands or millions of people, this is not by accident. This is something that some people have calculated to actually happen on purpose. What was the second question?
Yeah, I wanted to transfer that then to so military, and looking at both the police, obviously leaning towards deaths in custody. These are violent acts of murder, and the wider issue regards the military, as you know, the whole argument about weapons of mass destruction. Because if your conversation is about the violence linked to diet, are we then saying that the police themselves are given the same kind of format, or they're just trained to do what they do?
No, I think the unfortunate thing with certain people, and these people, we could call them Caucasoids or Caucasians or whatever, they're actually already born with a nutritional deficiency. So even when they're on a healthier diet, they could still quite happily kill people. So basically, you're talking about people who are born with a zinc deficiency, a phosphorus deficiency, an iodine deficiency, a potassium deficiency, and a melanin deficiency. And when you have those deficiencies, you will actually display these types of behaviors that they are clearly displaying. In the case of people who are black people are born with the highest amount of nutrients in their bodies of any other race. So that means that we're actually born with everything we need. You're actually born with all the nutrients you'll ever have in your life and all the nutrients you'll ever need in your life. What we tend to do, though, is that we get into a nutritionally deficient diet that makes our nutritional level fall all the way down to the European level of normal and sometimes abnormal. And once it falls down to below their level of normal, then the doctor tells the black woman she has an iron deficiency, or he tells her that she's deficient in some mineral or whatever. But what's really going on is that those people are naturally warlike, in my opinion, based on their genetic makeup, based on their melanin deficiency, which they have from their history, from their genetics. It's innate.
Okay, bless. Thank you for the reason. Much appreciated.
Thanks.
Thank you. I think we need to go on to the next speaker, otherwise we're going to be really, really tight for time. We can always come back to Paul.
My name's Patrick. I'm not Paul.
Always come back to Patrick later with further questions, or maybe you can put your questions in the chat and we can maybe respond to them as we progress. So
Hi, Patricia. Sorry to talk over, it's Bashti. What I wanted to ask Patrick was that he mentioned the word choline mineral, but can you just quickly spell it or put it in the chat?
Yeah, it's called choline. It's CHOLINE.
Thank you very much. Sorry, Patricia.
Yeah, it's okay. Can I ask any, others, if you've got other questions, please put them in the chat, and hopefully Patrick will be able to respond, or we can raise them at the end. Is that okay? Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Jean?
Okay, all right. Without further ado, we're going to move straight on to our next presentation. Her name is Empress Divine. Let me just switch over from the host situations. Empress Divine, are you near enough ready? Can you unmute unmute yourself, please? Are you there? Empress Divine? I can't see you.
Can you see me now or can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Wonderful. Can you see me?
Yeah.
Camera.
All right. Unmute yourself, please, Empress Divine, and also put your camera on.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. Thank you. And Patrick, could you close down your screen, please? The screen share.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Yes. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Also, moving on swiftly to our next presenter, Empress Divine, who's going to be talking about Yoni Journey. And unfortunately, because there was a lot of going on this just before, I wasn't able to draw out the email. So please, Empress Divine, could you introduce yourself, please, and let everybody know who you are and what you do? Okay. Empress Divine.
Hi, greetings everyone. Can you all hear me fine?
Yes.
Please.
Wonderful. I'm not sure if you can see me though.
Yes,
you can.
Can. Okay, I can't see me. Okay, I'm not in my natural abode.
Okay.
My name's Empress Divine. I'm a holistic therapist, naturopath, healer, energy and intuitive therapist. So with over more than 15 years or more working at energy level, cellular level, and with nature. Life has taken me on a journey which has brought one back to self. So apart from doing things like crystal therapy, color therapy, meditation, and detox therapy, which is all wonderful and fascinating, a lot of energy work I've been doing over a period of time. So things like Thai massage, reflexology, and nutrition and SRT. So all of those beautiful journeys I've been on. So that's just a little bit about me. My company is called Divine Healthy Living. My focus has been on body MOT, which is biochemical assessment. And that's given more of an insight as to what's going on in the systems of the body. But on this presentation, I want to just touch on the Yoni and how our systems, especially with the woman's female anatomy, has been affected in many, many aspects, in many ways. And what I found is that with a lot of the clients I've been working with, and my observation is that our wombs are definitely out of balance, both physically, spiritually, as well as connecting with our environment and our inner world and our outer world. And what I mean by that is that everything that we think, our thoughts, have a high frequency of energy, and that vibration affects every cell of the body. So every thought is going to the nose, the liver, the kidneys, the knees, the joints, the womb, the heart. Every cell of your body is listening to your thoughts. So if we can imagine that our thoughts are quite vast, in the sense that in a particular day we could go through many thousands of thoughts. On average, most people are not thinking positively or kindly to themselves. So there's a lot of stress, a lot of worry, a lot of procrastination, a lot of fatigue, even a lot of fear, as which was expressed in some of our presentations over some time. And a lot of it could be fear of the unknown. But what I find is that a lot of my clients are also coming and presenting with concerns of past life traumas that now manifested in this lifetime. So, for example, if we can think about when a man and a woman come together and they're wanting to engage with having a child, then the child that is coming forward is made up not only of the man and the woman, but all of the thoughts of that man and of that woman. So if our cells are listening to everything, and we're all connected through our ancestors, and our DNA and our RNA are all connected, then we carry forward a lot of unresolved karmic issues that has not been paid any attention to. So, for example, what I mean by that is, if somebody has come into this world, and we all come into this world via the womb, by the yoni, if a child growing up doesn't feel loved or accepted or welcomed, those aspects could be affected through what the mother was going through, or the grandmother or the grandparents were going through. Was those thoughts connected with, oh, I'm pregnant, or I'm expecting, I'm with child, and I don't want to have this child, or to be expecting to have a child, and the man's not there to support the child. Now, that thought is going through to the cells of that growing and developing baby that has found its way into the womb, so that it can come into this realm, into this world. Now, growing up, a lot of people are suffering with stress, and we know that this is quite high. And unfortunately, we're putting ourselves into situations of going round and round in circles, of not addressing the aspects of why certain stress are coming up. So it's not always going to be obvious with work or with children or other stress situations that's going on in the physical realm, but on a spiritual realm, on a energetic realm, it's going to show up and stay until something is done. Now, what I'm finding over and over and over again is that we're being brought into a world whereby it's expected that women are making decisions, or the community is making decisions that, well, I don't want to have a child, and I will be taking all sorts of contraceptions. And the contraceptions are not placed in a very favorable way in order to allow the body to function as fully as it should. So there's a lot of interruptions. So disturbed period and blood flow, excessive blood flow, a lot of pain, a lot of back pain, fibroids, endometriosis. There's so many different aspects that's going to be affecting the womb. So when we get into the different areas as to contraception in terms of taking a rod or a chip, which some people refer to, that has a lot more impact than taking something like Depo-Provera or the injection or the pill or the coil, for example. So the modern day functions are now putting people into a realm of a lot more uncertainty in regards to that young child thriving, or even the mother having the opportunity to have a healthy womb. So over and over, I'm seeing lots of women who are suffering with a lot of physical pain, emotional pain, spiritual pain. So what I'm looking at right now is a lot of aspects regarding the implications of the womb being quite overwhelmingly impacted. So imagine a woman maybe putting something like a rod inside her, only to find that the rod may be there for a year, but some people can have it for 5 years or more. Now, the hormones that are being released to suppress the release of the egg and so on and so forth, I'm seeing that people are being triggered with other illnesses. So some of what I've mentioned, but a lot of what's going on is compounded illnesses. So higher blood pressures is what's coming up, or that's coming up a lot more in regards to women also presenting with diabetes, headaches, nausea, not sleeping, a lot of tension and high emotional disturbances, especially being very anxious, a lot of depression, and just feeling very, very low, not understanding why. I think there's quite a lot of music here. One moment. I realised that was coming from outside. Hopefully you can hear me okay. So these disturbances are compounding in such a way that our women are not just presenting with things like lupus or all these autoimmune diseases. They are raised up even more. So what I want to look at is, well, how is it that we can move forward in regards to balancing the whole system of the body? So what I've got is 7 essential ways to helping to balance the womb and the yoni. So number 1, let your food be your medicine. And it's very important that we allow our foods to be as natural as possible, rather than going for convenience food and fast food and animal byproducts, which is heavy laden with different chemicals that's going to strip away the natural balance of the body. So live foods would definitely help to generate more healthier enzymes in the body, minerals in the body, and clearer thinking. So 75–80% live foods should be introduced into the system of the body periodically, as frequently as possible. So number 2 would be to detox. And detox would be quite important in regards to whether that be detoxing the womb, the colon, or just having time to be quiet or meditate or relax and just switch off, whether it be from all the electrical gadgets, whatever the case may be. But to definitely detox. And there's more finer tune of detoxing for the womb, like yoni steaming. That's going to be obviously beneficial as well. And I would say that something like balancing our energies through proper sleep would be quite vital, because a lot of my clients that I'm seeing right now are having very disturbed sleep, not understanding why their emotions are very imbalanced, not understanding why they're just feeling depressed or low or lots of pain. So it's not just affected by food, but also affected by the external environment as well. So proper sleep is very, very important. So switching off a lot of electrical appliances as much as possible, especially when one is definitely needing to rest and sleep. And these appliances are best outside of the sleeping environment, especially in the bedroom. So what I touched on is emotional wounds. So number 4 would be emotional wounds. So what I'd say is an emotional wound would be something like a trauma that's happened in the past life of somebody, as well as the present life, that can then feed into their current life and then continue into their next life. So when they are now producing children, then it can continue, and it doesn't stop until that karmic aspect is looked at and dealt with properly. So emotional wounds, such as looking at simple aspects of loving oneself and letting go of some of the trauma, the anger, the resentment, the different aspects surrounded about pain and mistrust or love. So letting go of some of those aspects will definitely be very vital and very important. A lot of times what I'm finding with women that are presenting themselves to me with fibroids, for example, we can put together a brilliant food plan, juicing, but one of the aspects that is very important is to go into the emotional rooms that has been created and when they were created. So I do work with a therapy called SRT, which is spiritual response therapy, and that does work extremely well in regards to finding out where that has attached itself and why, and what needs to be done right now at this moment in time to release that and free maybe the rest of the family and the generations will have a better journey in terms of moving forward. Excuse me. So there is a whole range of different aspects that go along with that, and I'll touch on that a little bit further in a moment. So one of the other essential ways to help balance the yoni would be looking at the amalgam fillings. And I'm seeing still quite recently, quite a lot of people are still being given amalgam fillings, which is the silver fillings or the metal fillings, which does have a lot of toxic metals that's in there that goes directly into the nervous system, into the bloodstream as well, and cause a lot of disruptions. So once that's addressed in terms of safely removing people's symptoms, conditions and diseases, usually clear up a lot faster. Now number 6 would be specific herbs, vitamins and supplements that will help to balance the womb and the emotions and the energy of the whole body. And number 7 would be living one's truth. So what I mean by that is if we look at our old ancient system, whereby when a woman would decide that she would want to have a child, in the old days, we would be working more naturally with vibration. So the woman would go to a tree and listen as in through meditation for as long as possible until she got that vibration of what she needed to go back and tell her husband. So that would be a song. So that song would come up and resonate. She'd learn the song because she's been told the song through the energy and vibration of maybe nature, the tree, or her ancestors. She could then go back and have to teach her husband or partner the song before they would engage intercourse in order to bring the child forward. Once the child is now coming into this world, you would have things like different systems of using doulas to assist us. So the doula or the midwife would then learn the song and the vibration. The child would come, the child would already know and be hearing in the community, in the family, certain aspects in regards to significant times in the child's life. That song will be sung over again until the person becomes an adult, marry, and if they do anything completely disruptive, then a circle would be around them and the song would be sung with everyone around the child in the middle or the adult in the middle, so that the energy of the vibration of that song as to why the child came in the first place would bring that harmony back into the center. Marriage, and then finally through death. So these are one of our energy systems of using vibration to balance ourselves. And what I find is daily affirmations would help in order to retrain the thought pattern, retrain the mind, so that we're not thinking constantly negative thoughts. We are as strong as our thoughts, our visions, and what words that we speak is all important. So daily affirmations such as, being joyful and loving and patient and peaceful and whole, shining being, releasing and letting go of all foods, emotions, and people that are connected in a negative way that affect the development of tumors, and any imbalances within the body. So affirming on a daily basis that they no longer feed a tumor or a cyst or anything into the temple of the body, because that is our house, and that is the place that we truly live. Yeah. So what I mentioned earlier was there's a whole range of different ways of looking after the wound. So steaming is very, very useful in regards to looking at regulating uncomfortable menstruation, reducing menopausal symptoms, alleviating abdominal pain, pressure, relieving menstrual cramps, regenerating tissue damage, improving vaginal tightness, and balancing the hormones. Detoxifying the womb will help also to remove waste products, cysts and fibroids from the womb as well. It will also help very greatly with aligning one's energies and chakras in the whole system of the body. It also helps to regulate stagnant energy and supports the lymphatic system to allow the body to be stronger and more healthy. So I would say a yoni steam would be quite useful to be having on a regular basis. So there are certain times when it wouldn't be advisable. So you wouldn't steam or think about steaming if a woman feels that she's expecting or having a child, or if she's got some sort of IUD device that's connected, or during menstruation, have any open wounds, fever or inflammation. So at those points, one wouldn't expect to be having the steam.
Empress Divine?
Yes.
Sorry, you've got about 7 minutes left, so I don't know if you want to use up all of that 7 minutes, or would you want any time for questions and answers, or would you like questions and answers gone so quickly, or would you like to leave the questions and answers till the very end? It's up to you.
I can leave it to the end. I'm almost finished.
Okay, wonderful. All right.
Okay, thank you. So it's really important for us to get back into the self-love, so that when women are deciding that they're wanting, especially to have a child, this is one thing that I really need to bring forward to our women, and that is when you know that you have a child and your child is in your womb, tell your child that you love and you welcome your child. Because if we're going through different aspects of challenge relationships, the man's not there to support us, a whole range of things can happen. That child is then impacted by not wanting to be here and wanting to leave. So miscarriages can happen. And when a child is born, one is wondering, well, where is the bond? The bond is not there because one hasn't told the child, or one hasn't found that energy and the vibration, or to sing, to find the tune and the vibration that connects with that child to say, I'm now ready for you and I welcome you into my room. So that's one thing that I really need to bring home to our women who are wanting to not only have a child, but for those children that they have, send energy and vibration of love to the children that you have, whether you see them, whether you don't get on with them. Keep that meditation of love open so that it will help to change their energy and vibration as well. The last thing that I want to leave you with is, I have lots more information I want to share in regards to essential herbs and oils. So I think I've got very few moments left. But things like turmeric, golden seal, frankincense oil, myrrh, sandalwood, lemon oil, lavender oil. Some of those are very, very useful in regards to using on a regular basis, in regards to having a bath, or maybe using on your body, in your temple, or around the room. There's a lot more information that I do have to share in regards to how the body MRT interact with supporting the room. So hopefully I'll get a chance to connect more details of that when I speak again. Well, thank you very much for connecting and tuning into the few words that I had to impart with the Young journey. So may all your journeys be productive. Infinite love. So if you have any questions or want to lead to the end, then I'm more than happy, and I'm here to answer any questions.
We got very little time for a lot of questions. Maybe one. Paul, I see you've unmuted yourself. Would you have a question quickly, and then we can leave the other questions till later on, and then we can, unfortunately, we have no time for a break. We'll be moving on to our next presenter. So Paul,
yes, no problem. I take it the word yoni is an Indian word for vagina. Is that correct?
The yoni is the womb, yeah, the vagina.
You're right.
Yes.
How does actually steaming work? I mean, what kind of substances would you use, for example?
Okay, steaming would be done with herbs. So different herbs like calendula, flowers, and a whole bunch of different herbs would be placed in a bowl. So hot water would be building up with some steam.
Right.
The woman would then sit on a throne, so that she would then receive the steam through her vagina directly, and cover herself so that the steam would be encapsulated, so it's not going in the atmosphere of the room, but it's going to be maybe a throw would be around her, so that it would seal the area. So it's very
It's
calming.
similar to having some menthol crystals and inhaling them virtually, that sort of thing.
Well, you're not going to be inhaling it through your nose.
No, I know, but it's in the process. Yeah.
Yeah.
But very, very quickly, I saw a program that I think it's a group of African women from a village in the southern part of Africa actually doing that as well, and it's a cleansing process. That's very important. Thank you very much.
Yes, it's very important. Usually when women have had their babies, then it's an important time to do it then, so that the womb would go to its natural formation and cleansing the whole body properly.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
A question, which I know you do consultations, and also could you repeat the herbs? Well, best still, if you could write the herbs in the chat, chat room, and so everybody's can write down the herbs. Or if you've got a file with the herbs on it, you can actually upload the file to the side, Empress Divine.
Okay, I'm using my phone at the moment, so it's not possible to do that. So what I can do is to send it to you so that it can be emailed to everyone, possibly. Can that work? Because I'm not using my laptop right now, I'm using my phone, which is not as easy to share.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. And there's a lot of talk at this, say that you've got a very soothing voice.
Well, I'm doing the meditation. I've got the body MOT going on. So we're here to do the work. We're here at this moment in time to heal our bodies, and it's important for us to get on with it. We can't leave it to anybody else.
No.
They're not going to do the service for us. We are here to do the service for ourselves. So let's get on with it. I'm here at service. So I can be in London once a month. I'm usually in another city. So I'm here.
That's wonderful. And also to let everybody know that Empress Divine has got a presentation coming up this Sunday at the Auntie Jean's African Culture Market Zoom. So you can tune in to hear more of Empress Divine and her skills, because it's not just the yoni she deals with, the, as you said, the whole body MOT. So and herbs, and the list goes on. I mean, what she sent me the email is a long list of natural, as I said, remedies and herbs and the things that she actually does. So, you know, Cheryl, well worth getting in contact with Empress Divine. Thank you so much. And with that, we're going to have to.
Can I just say, it complements tremendously what Patrick has done in terms of looking at our bodies, helping our bodies, getting the right nutrients, and the detoxing, cleaning up. Going forward, it's really, really important. So thank you, Empress Divine. That was absolutely wonderful. And I look forward to hearing you on Sunday.
Thank you.
7 till 10, everyone. 7 till 10.
Thank you. Without further ado, we're going to move swiftly on to Dawn Taylor, our sister Dawn Taylor. She's going to be talking about eating the foods our ancestors ate. So Dawn, could you please introduce yourself, let people know who you are, what you do, and the screen is now yours.
Greetings, relatives and friends. My name is Dawn Taylor. I'm training as a master herbalist, which I consider to be a long life endeavor. I'm also reconnecting with my culture, tradition, and ancestors through an African spiritual system called Kali. With Chief Montana, you met him 2 weeks ago. He was online. I'm also promoting the use of wild plants and natural foods. I sell herbs. I host foraging excursions with a group called Wild Tastes, and I supply indigenous seeds for cultivation. I would like to extend my gratitude to Auntie Jean and Royston for asking me to take this time to reflect and share with you all about the foods that our ancestors would have ate. Right, so let me just see if I can share the screen. I've got a small I had a small presentation. I'm not able to share it at the moment. Auntie Jean, can you hear me? It's telling me that I'm waiting.
Yes, it's just a minute. Sorry, did you say something, Dawn? I was on the phone.
No, I was saying, I was asking if you could hear me.
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
I've got a presentation, but it won't allow me to share it.
Just a second. I'll just give you the. Let me just find the thing, and I'll give you the thing so you can share the screen. Hang on a minute. Just bear with me a sec. I'm just multitasking here. This is security. I'm trying to find. Okay. Dawn, I could give you. Okay, you have liftoff now, my dear.
Right.
Have you got it? Can you see it?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Right, I'm quite new to this. So the foods, eat the foods your ancestors ate.
Oh, God, brilliant. Sorry, it must be me. All right, then.
So look to the ancient ways and you will find your path. What foods did they eat? Right, I would like for you to insert your comments, but I don't think we're going to have time, are we? Really? We're running out of time. So I will go on to who are your ancestors? Primarily, they are your ancestors are by lineage, adoption, or i.e. so-called aunties or uncles, close friends of the family by marriage and their bloodline. Primeval people would have looked similar to these. Primeval indigenous tribes were practicing animism. Animism from the Latin anima meant breath, spirit, and life. Animism is the belief that objects, places, and creatures all possess a distinct spiritual essence. Potentially, animism perceives all things, animals, plants, rocks, rivers, weather systems, human handiworks, and perhaps even words as animated and alive. Right, we have lost our connection with nature. So I've got a quick video. I don't know if I can move this out of the way.
We don't have any sound.
Is it supposed to have sound on, or is it just we have to use our imagination?
It's just got music. It's got music. Can you not hear it?
No, we can't hear anything. So maybe you got to click on your go back to screen share and click on the audio via computer. And for that, you'll have to come back out and go back in.
Yeah, can you do that for me, please?
No, you'll have to do that because you've got control. You've got the.
Okay, 1 minute. They can't hear the sound. Audio by sound.
You'll have to come out of screen share.
Come out.
Close screen share. Come out of screen share, and then go back into it. And then on the left-hand side at the bottom, click on audio sound, and then go back to share.
Share computer sound.
Yeah.
Yep, got it.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
So we're all learning. We're all learning.
Here we go. Play there 'cause I can't read. Just go back to that one. Okay.
Yeah, go to the top and just end screen share.
Oh, I can't see what. Okay. So we, as I was saying earlier, we've lost our connection with nature. Still further, this was the slaughter of the buffalo.
Yeah.
To starve the Native Americans. And, you know, where will it all end, really? You know, everywhere that the colonizers tend to have contact with, you know, it has a detrimental impact on them. So this is before we started domesticating our foods.
I remember those bananas.
You remember them?
Remember those bananas, because I used to like bananas because they had too many seeds in them. I used to remember them.
Yeah, but that was real food. That's the original food, and then below is the modern day foods.
Yes, I do remember those bananas.
And they achieved all this through crossbreeding, grafting, hybridization, and to redress the question that I asked earlier, sort of what was the foods like, it would have been genetically modified, it would have been unfarmed, it would have been wild, most of it would have been medicine. So this is the standard European diet. I couldn't find for English or whatever, compared with the wild chimpanzee diet, because they found that the chimpanzees in the zoo were getting similar illnesses to us when they fed them the domesticated bananas. When they bought the animals here, they didn't bring their foods with them. So they just fed them what they thought was their diet. And they weren't living very long, and they were getting similar diseases to us, like what the dogs get. The dogs get, the animals, the dogs, the cats, the horses get arthritis, they get diabetes, they get similar ailments to us. And we wonder why we're ill. I've put this slide because someone said that it's easier to tell a lie than to convince somebody that you've been lied to. So we need to seriously be mindful of the information that we take in and question everything, because like they told us the sun would give you cancer, only to find out that the sun protects you. The sunscreens have cancer causing agents in them, and so forth. But why am I promoting wild foods? This actually is from the standpoint of somebody who actually forages, but you can still benefit because wild food is better than organic. Organic foods is still allowed chemicals so long as they're approved. They have longer root stems, so they dig deeper into the soil and can draw out more nutrients out of the soil. The crops are healthier, they're more sturdy, more robust. There's a lot more diversity. You have about 31,000 wild plants to choose from. And out of that 31,000, 150 is poisonous. But when I say poisonous, in the sense that it could give you a headache or it could give you an upset stomach, but you have only 50 out of that 150 that would potentially kill you. But I don't need to explain what leaky gut is, but food is not only a material pleasure. Food supplies the body with messages. Food is information. Healthy food was part of our tradition. It is part of our identity. There's research that has identified that fasting can help to regenerate the body. It was a Japanese scientist, I think, who won the Nobel Prize for his findings, but Sebi's been talking about it for years, all along. So what do I suggest? More or less what everyone else is suggesting: cleanse, detox. The herbs don't actually heal you, they just help to facilitate the healing process. So something that would take a year may only take 6 months, depending on how severe you are. And we are the ancestors of our descendants. So we need to be good ancestors, create a healthier future through thought, in education, habits, and in lifestyle. And I've just put a few of the links and, you know, just a bit of information there for anybody who wants to do further research into some of the information that I put on the slides. And thank you for listening to me.
Thank you.
So any questions, or do we want to leave it till later on?
We've got about 5 or so minutes for questions. So yes, got about 5 minutes for questions. Anybody got any questions? Would like to unmute yourself? Thank you very much, Dawn.
Yes, yes. Can I ask Dawn one quick question? Are you saying that the majority of the foods that we eat at the moment are modified genetically? Like I love bananas. I buy a lot of bananas. You know, Jean says.
Yeah, but are you like Auntie Jean and you can't be bothered to pick the seeds out? Because the seeds give the body messages, and I think that
we don't get them.
What messages do you want to give your body?
Well, the thing is, we buy bananas. I've never ever seen any bananas in the shops with seeds in them.
No, that was years ago.
Well, exactly. But the thing is,
I think it's for a reason. But I would say that everything has been the SEBI's list. The SEBI's list is he compiled that list, and it's the most unaltered foods that he could find.
Right.
But what surprised me the most on his list was okra. I didn't know okra was a hybrid.
Really? Right.
Yes, it is.
Well,
I haven't worked out what the original plant was.
Right.
But an example, the dandelion is the original plant for the Romanian lettuce. That's where we get the Romanian lettuce from, is the dandelion. Your spinach, your chowder, your all the beets, the sugar beets and beetroot comes from a plant which is called sea beet or wild spinach. It's a family of the amaranth family.
What you're saying is that we really, really eat a lot of rubbish, really and truly.
Well, I've got to also, they say junk food.
Right.
There's either food or there's junk, but there's no junk food.
Yeah. Now, where can we get real food from? I mean, are there any places that you know that we can go?
Well, I host foraging events, and I teach about wild foods,
right?
Indigenous foods.
Okay.
In the UK,
yes.
UK.
Yes, I'm in the UK.
And do you have like a program?
Yeah.
A list of dates.
Yeah, when we're not on lockdown, we hold events in woodlands, but we can. I mean, if there's enough people that want to participate, then we come to you and we'll show you what you can forage in your area, in your region.
Wonderful.
We also light a fire and we cook whatever we forage, because we also forage for mushrooms, and we tap the trees and we drink the tree bark, the tree sap from the birch tree.
Dawn has actually said, if enough people are interested and we can get the people together, she'll come down and we'll do some foraging.
Great.
Okay.
Sorry.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes.
You'll have to make it very.
Okay. Not so much a question then, Auntie Jean, because of the time constraints. I just wanted to thank the presenter for a very useful and informative presentation this evening, and I was especially pleased to see that she kindly included in her presentation some references. One I recognised was Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, because I'm sure if she had more time she'd explain how important the mind is to our health and well-being.
Precisely, yes.
And a book that I haven't yet read, but I will certainly endeavour to read, is the reference, because I'm aware of his work, I know a bit about his work, Dr. Asa Hilliard's Chasing After God's Not Our Own. So I just really want to say thank you very much, sis. And the earrings look excellent, I have to say.
Thank you.
You know
There is a lot more that I meant to put on the list. My email is down below, and I will put my telephone number in the chat. So if anyone wants to, contact me with regards to any of this, you know, you're more than welcome to do so.
Thank
Also,
you. Could you
I
please
mean,
put your
I
email
wish you had,
as well in the chat?
smell-o-vision, because you know, these are like, and we've just missed the wild garlic season.
Okay.
When you start cooking with those sort of things, you know, the flavors is just.
Can I
Just
ask
want to
a quick
quickly,
incredible.
Sister Vashti wants to have a quick question.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Dawn.
Jacqueline also wants to ask a question.
Yeah, it's a very quick one.
No,
Thank you.
hold on, Jacqueline. Hold on, Jacqueline.
Yeah, hi. Sorry, I'm Dawn. I didn't hear properly. You mentioned about herbs can't heal you, it helps you. Sorry, I think I missed a bit of that. Could you explain what you mean? Is that correct?
Well, the ancestors would have used the herbs for, they would have used them for garnish, they would have used them for spices, they would have used them for medicines, they would have used them for burning, like smoking, or as an offering, you know, the herbs, the oils, the list is endless, what they, you know, what they can all be used for.
What would you say would be
Jacqueline wants to ask a question now. Jacqueline?
Am I on now?
Yes.
Okay. Sister Dawn, thank you for that. That was really, really interesting and informative. But I had a question. My eyesight's so rubbish that when you had your presentation up, you had a list of comparisons of things that we think are true and things
You're
that
very low.
How do I turn it up?
No, Jacqueline is very low.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I think so.
Better. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Right up now. No, there was a presentation that you had, but my eyesight's so bad with comparison, Sister Dawn, between what's true, what isn't true. I wasn't able to see the second part of it because it was
Right. It wasn't. What was that? Was that the actual fruits and vegetables, or was it you're talking about?
No, about the sunshine. It was about sunshine is bad for you, gives you cancer.
Yeah, it was just to get you to think and to question the information that they've told us what is good for us. A carrot, which is supposed to be good for your eyesight, was originally the Queen Anne lace mixed with the wild yarrow, and they created the carrot.
Wow.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're
welcome.
welcome.
Questions, and Dawn, thank you so much. And if you've got any time later,
any questions, because there is a lot that I've missed out. There's a lot I missed out.
Some more questions. I have some more questions. Please put them in the chat room. And Dawn, yes, we'll be inviting you back as well. You probably come to the African Culture Market, you get an hour then. Okay, and without further ado, we're going to move on to our next and our final presentation. And we have, sorry, my granddaughter's going. And we have our last presentation by Cheryl Phoenix, who is our Black Child Agenda champion, was set up in 2013, and she's tackling the schools to the prison pipeline, aptly named as the shutdown specialist. And her presentation is supporting advice to parents during this lockdown period. So, Sister Cheryl, would you like to introduce yourself? Let people know what other things that you do. And I must say, the screen is now yours. Sister Cheryl, I can see you there. Are you unmute yourself? Sister Cheryl? I don't know what's happened. I can hear, but I cannot see. Sister Cheryl? For those who don't know, I think a lot of you do know about Sister Cheryl Phoenix, the work that she does. She works tirelessly and constantly with all of with our youths, and not only does she work tirelessly, she also gets results. Hi, you're on now. Okay, all right, okay. And when I meant what I said when she works tirelessly, she's actually helping her son delivering food. So that's what she's doing, sort of like in between. So I think they can get running back to her car now, running back to the phone, so she can be she'll be with us very, very shortly. So as I said, not only does she help out with us and our youths in school, she was also helping out her son doing food. So, and I know said that I think it was Kunga who asked earlier on if Cheryl was going to be here, and it was due to her helping her son last week. Why when she did finally come on, she came on, it was too late. It was too late to do her justice and her presentation. So hopefully she will be gracing our screens very, 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 very shortly.
Maybe we could take a couple more questions while we're waiting, if there's anything for Dawn or Patrick.
Yes, but we can, anybody, any question, the floor is actually open to any one of the presentations that you've heard from Patrick, from Empress Divine, and from Dawn. If anybody's got any questions that they'd like to ask while we're waiting for Cheryl, please do unmic yourself and ask away. Introduce yourself, let me know who you are, your name, and then ask which presenter you'd like to ask your question to. Anyone? It's gone very quiet out there.
Just let people are thinking, aren't they?
Yeah. I can hear the crickets.
Empress Judah, did you have a question?
Not so much a question, my sister. Just if I could perhaps feed into something that was mentioned by one of the community members listening in today. It was a brother who asked about, in reference to the police behaviour, which I thought was an excellent observation on his part, in terms of the barbaric, bestial, inhuman behavior that is what we're seeing, and the recent case of the brother George Floyd, who was murdered. I couldn't even watch all of it. It was just too shocking. And I knew that I would be so overcome with emotion that the anger that I'm feeling just at the thought of another innocent black person being murdered would detract from the action that is now required to ensure that this sort of thing stops. So I just wanted to share some good news that someone has sent me to say that one of the officers anyway has been charged with his murder. So I thank Almighty Jah Rastafari for that. However, we can't stop at one officer. I think all four officers...
Judah, we're really sorry, we have to stop you there, but thank you for the information. Maybe we can come back later, yeah? Cheryl seems to be ready. So
right, okay, thank you, sis.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Cheryl Phoenix, lady hard worker.
She just got out of the car.
Oh.
Got into the car, but because Empress Judah was speaking, I wanted to allow her to finish speak before we called Cheryl in. But now she's got out of the car and she's got a bag and she's taking it somewhere. So I don't know.
Taking it to the destination.
Yes.
And I saw footage about what Empress Judah was talking about. The amount of police they had protecting the this so-called officer outside his house. There was literally over 100 police.
Over 100 police officers.
Yes. And can I just say, please, Auntie Jean and Sister Patricia, that whilst we are talking about health this evening, and that is so important, one of the things that I've heard some of the African American psychologists, and I think even Dr. Francis Cresswell Singh may well have mentioned this in her books, is that when we embrace our culture, we're actually at our most healthiest. And so whilst it's important that we are angry at what we're seeing, it's also important that we're not in denial of what we're seeing. And so for those of us that, you know, are able to express, because I'm not going to repeat what someone was saying about those who were taking the film and those that were onlooking, because I think they were also traumatized. And I think, you know, the important thing is that now that the officer, quote unquote, so-called, has been charged, we can't allow it to end there. All 4 officers, and one of them, shockingly enough, after speaking on Galaxy Radio, saying that the Chinese are our #1 enemy, it then appeared on one of my timelines on another network that one of the 4 is of Chinese origin, and this guy is knee-high to a grasshopper. So how the hell, you know, someone like that could have the audacity, given the sensitivities that we're feeling right now towards China, to be involved in such a barbaric murder is beyond belief. But
Cheryl's back in her car.
What we didn't see, it was the other 2 officers. One was pinned on his legs and the other one was pinned on his chest. So we see that from the back of the car. But anyway, Cheryl, let's just come back. Is Cheryl there? Cheryl Phoenix? Are you there, Cheryl?
She's in her car.
Okay. You're unmuted. You're unmuted. Cheryl? Cheryl? I'll give her a call.
Looks like she's going to drive off.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe she's with us.
Oh, she's connecting.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Sis, can you hear us? Cheryl, can you hear us? I think she's trying to set up. Hi. Hi. Can you hear us?
No, I can't hear anything. I can see myself, but I can't hear a word.
Okay.
But it says my mic's muted. Did you mute my mic? 'Cause I didn't.
No, you can unmute your mic. I'll have a look.
And there's so many things on there I can't see. But let me. How do I get back into
You're not muted.
All right, let me see.
If not, then I can have you. Yeah, it said audio connection. Try now.
Can you hear me? I can see myself.
Yep, we can hear you now.
We can hear you. We can see you.
Yes, we can hear you.
But I can't hear. Speak.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I can hear you now. Sorry guys, I'm still on the road. I'm delivering food. It's just been it's every Friday, so it's like trying to do my community duties for those that are less fortunate and elderly that can't leave their house. So we cook every Friday and make sure people eat.
Wonderful.
For giving us some of your time, because I know your time is very precious. So without further ado, the screen is now yours, my sis.
Hi. And you know what, because I've missed all of the discussion because I've been frantic, please catch me up, like for me, with regards to the Black Child Agenda and what we do out there, and obviously our parents who are out there, like not knowing whether they're going to send their children back to these schools, I'll be polite, and leave our children in their care. And a lot of parents are asking me a lot of legal questions about if they want to keep their children at home, how they go about doing that, if they want to send their children part-time, because a lot of workplaces are now actually allowing people to work from home because they're not, a lot of people are furlough is the new name they've got for it. So more people are working from home. If parents do, for example, want to keep their children off school permanently, you can do that. All you need to do is write to the school, to the head teacher and say that you want to home educate. You know, and there's no timing in that. You can home educate for 6 months and then decide that you want to send your child back to school. It's entirely up to you. You control their education. However, the one thing is that parents must understand is that if you do choose to home educate, then everything about their education is your sole responsibility. The school don't give you anything unless your child got an educational healthcare plan, and that's the children who have additional learning needs or disabilities. So you can home ed if you choose to, and you can basically work from home if that's what a lot of parents are doing. There are parents who are saying that they don't have the luxury of being able to work from home because they're frontline staff, etc. This is where, as you guys are already running, is where the community village comes in. So, for example, if you know that your child has got maths, English, and science, and you want to know that they're able to get to maths, English, and science, this is where you team up with parents in your local area. You team up with parents in your local area. You find places like you've got these learning centres. Some of them are quite popular, and you register your child there. They can stay there all day. Yes, there is a fee, and they can stay all day. And then you arrange, the pick up and drop off just like you would if your child was at school. Then you've got other activities that children do. It's not all about maths, English, and science. You've got classes where children are learning about engineering. You've got children learning about investment banking. All those classes are out there, and all those things are out there. The resources are there. We have a WhatsApp group. We have a Facebook group where we're continuously posting resources and classes for parents so that they can find those sort of things. What else is there with regards to parents being at home? The thing is, one of the things for parents who do send their children to school, or who are going to continue sending their children to school, is to be mindful. Now, one of the things I do, and I do very closely, is watch what politics is doing and watch what the government's doing by way of this. Everyone's been talking about the vaccinations and our rights, etc., etc. One thing we need to understand, which has been coming for years and years and years, is our human rights is being eroded as we sit here right now and speak. When this all erupted back in February, March, I just got back from America and couldn't understand why there was no food in the shop. Now, one of the things I do know is that the Human Rights Act has been, and remember, it's an act, it's not a law, it's an act. The Human Rights Act and bills are something that are being taken away every single day. And we as a community, not just us, but even our wider cousins who we don't really like too tough, but at the end of the day, they get listened to more than we do. We need to find a way of actually really challenging this. Because things like the vaccines that everyone, I keep seeing posts constantly about the vaccines, this vaccine's coming, that vaccine's coming. The vaccine's already here. Just so you know, that vaccine that everyone's worried about is already here. And one of the things they're trying to do is force parents that if you do want to send your children back to school in September or whenever it is, you will have to then vaccinate your child before your child can come to school. Your child doesn't have the vaccine, then your child is not going to be able to attend school. If you want to travel, that's another way how they're going to start trying to bring in the vaccines as well. So to find your way around that, there's going to be no option for us as a people but to open our own schools. And to open a school doesn't mean that you have to find a massive building and be able to take 500 kids. Your own school could be the local church. We need to hold our churches to account about what they're actually doing for the wider community by way of just a building. I don't need to pray to your God. I have my own thank you, but I do want to use your building 4 days a week, 3 days a week to be able to educate our children and keep them off the street. So we need to get a bit more creative in our thinking, stop complaining about what we see going on, because there's nothing much that we can do about it unless we've got a really heavy political army, and actually really tap into what we can actually do tomorrow, today, right now. Right now, a practical solution. If they're opening schools in September, you start speaking to them pastors about opening them churches to make sure we can use it for our children so that we control our children's narrative and our family's narrative. Any questions by any chance? As I drive over these road humps as if I'm on Brands Hatch.
Yes, that's what I was saying. I was even offered to my grandchildren that if by any chance their children can't go into school because they need vaccines to do that, I sort of like offered to help to homeschool. So yes, I like the idea of going to churches and saying, well, look, we'll open up this building and make use of, the spaces that they've got. And yes, being imaginative and inventive. And also, you said that you have, do you have classes, online classes that we can access via your, was it WhatsApp and Facebook, you said?
Yeah, on Facebook we've got Black Home Ed and Support Group, and then on WhatsApp it's just called Home Ed Resources, because we literally post maths, English, science, technology, all coding. There's also, and anyone that's doing anything around educating our young people, even educating our adults. We also give out a lot of support for children with additional needs, because there's a lot of parents that are at home with their children who don't know how to manage their additional needs. Autism, social, emotional, mental health. All of these things are probably quite new to parents, because our children spend 30 hours a week in the classroom with teachers who, as far as I'm concerned, in a lot of cases and a lot of schools are destroying them and their self-esteem and confidence. And what I've heard from parents who were absolutely petrified of the opportunity of home educating was that, oh my God, it's actually not that bad. Because I'm like, dash where the people and curriculum, for one, sit down with your child, actually understand who they are first of all, and then you start reintroducing your maths, your English, your science, and it doesn't have to be theirs. It can be any type. It could be about stocks and shares. It could be about going to the shop, how much money you have in your purse or your pocket, how much change they expect to get back, what things cost. These are practical, basic things. If your children are slightly older, a lot of parents have said to me that the older children, they're struggling to engage them. And I'm asking, what are you actually doing? Well, the school has sent home this, that, and the other. I'm like, well, so why do you have to do what the school's telling you? At the end of the day, they're already messing up the GCSEs for a lot of our children, which is, it's like that. It's just a whole nightmare in itself, because as soon as that was started to be thought about, I had people from Parliament calling me, what are my thoughts? And I told them my thoughts, which I can't say publicly, i.e. because I swore a lot. And that's exactly what it is. It is basically, our children will miss out on a year's education, but you can actually apply for your children to take their GCSEs independently of the school. You do have to pay, but it's a fee worth paying. If you feel, even if your child's 12, your child can do their GCSEs, they don't have to wait till they're 16. If your child's 16 and they're preparing to do their GCSEs, and they're waiting for the teacher to mark it, or the teacher's predicted grade, you can take them out of that system. Say that you're home editing, get your child up to speed with their GCSEs, which you can do at home. There's a lot of online resources. Boom, pay for your own GCSE papers, choose your exam board, and then go for gold that way. It sounds, for me, I'm saying it and it sounds very easy. It is actually that easy. It's not that difficult. There's so many online resources and lessons going on that there's no reason why any of us can't tap into it. Some of them are chargeable, £5, £10. Some of them are free. It's down to the parent of what you actually want.
Okay, Paul, have you got a question? I see you've unmiked.
Yes. Hello, Cheryl. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. Well, I'm Paul Phoenix, and I'm from Parents Against Racism in Schools. Well, what we actually do, we develop a series of programs looking at English and maths, and this is geared towards individual parents, and all they need to do is to give us a call, tell us how far the child or children are, and we would do a quick assessment online. I send them a few questions. That way we have an example of how good they are, or how bad they are, in that case. And we actually design a program for them. At the moment, we're just doing English and maths at primary school level. So anyone who's interested from your group or any other group can give us a quick call. We'll send them a little assessment sheet. Take a matter of a few minutes. But we insist you do not help your child. Parents are very bad at this. Parents will see the child struggling and they would instantly get involved. I know, they're terrible. Do not do that. We want to assess the child to find out exactly how good or how bad he or she is. So that's what we do. And well done. Thank you for the good work that you're doing as well.
Well, that's brilliant. So, no, I personally, that's something we don't do any education. Because I'll be honest, I've raised my children now. The thing is, I still fight for all of our children, but I don't necessarily want to work directly with children. So people like yourself who are out there, we basically make sure that parents are aware of your resources and what you're actually doing. We're literally only about law and challenging the system and making sure that these exclusions and the maltreatment treatment of our children actually being adhered to, and going to court and shutting them down and being a thorn in the side of schools who aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing, and the court system who think that it's okay to say what they like. So by way of actually working with the parents, I'll definitely, if you send your details, I'll be happy to make sure that parents can tap into your resources and anybody else who's on this call today, to make sure that parents can actually access any of the resources that you're doing, day trips out, drumming classes, whatever it is. So yeah, we'll just be there like a little hub, but to actually do the work, no thank you, I'll leave that to you guys.
Now, I think a lot of people don't realize how hard it is for parents, particularly when they have to deal with the system. The system gets really, really heavy. And I've had examples of this. In fact, I had to protect a parent, social workers from the police.
With even what I do, with what I do, it's mostly challenging all of the things. It is having to challenge social services. It is challenging racist head teachers, and there are a lot of them out there. And don't get me wrong, there are some good teachers out there and some really good social workers out there. Give me a call on the down low. But generally speaking, I would not be busy every single day of the week if it was all gravy. There's a problem with racism in our education system. It's structural, it's systematic, and the thing is that I also find as well is the fact that the outcome is still the same. So then that says that you guys are blatantly racist, but you don't want to admit it. The fact that a black child is 68% of the prison population who's got an undiagnosed mental health condition. There we go. Who has an undiagnosed mental health condition from the school system. I got a call just today about a child who's got fetal alcohol syndrome. He's not an alcohol abuser. The child was born, mum's unfortunately passed away, and the grand has been left to raise a child. This child had problems. He's now 17. He's gone through his whole education with nothing but problems, and no one, including social services, all the schools, did anything to support that child. These are cases I deal with on a daily basis. And the fact is that parents don't know where to go. They don't know who to talk to. They only hear what the teacher says and they go along with it because they don't know any better, and why should they? They shouldn't have to go and understand and learn education law to be able to just get their child through the academic day. When our children go to their demon schools, our children academically are gifted, talented, outshine everybody else, and are happy. By the time they leave our schools at 14 and 15 or 16, they're miserable, depressed, angry, and then we wonder why they're on the street carrying knives because they've been groomed in your dirty fruit, why they're out there wanting to take drugs, why they're wanting to fight people, why they're so aggressive. No, there's an issue there that no one's tapped into, no one's listening to them.
Well, Alice, it's funny to say that because I did an interview some time back and I argued that the education system has got a lot to answer for with regards to the present day youth crime. And a few people were up in arms about that.
And you end up inside.
Sorry, Paul, we need to just mute you because maybe other people might want to come in because the sound from Michelle's not very good, so he's straining to hear.
Right. Okay.
We might need other people may want to come in. So
no problem.
Thank you very much. I'll mute you for now.
My pleasure. Yeah.
Shaz, I saw you had your you took your mute off.
Oh, hello. Sorry, just closing the window. Yeah. I wanted to ask the speaker's opinion. What do you think of Priti Patel saying that some vulnerable children are safer at school than at home when the virus is still spreading in our community?
I think that one is, I think it's catch-22. Some children who are vulnerable are better off at school because some of those children are being sexually abused. Some of those children are being beaten up. Some of those children are not being fed. So some of those children, and I know teachers who are going out to Sainsbury's, Asda's and wherever with their own money to feed and support some of these children, where myself, even if I'm sitting outside someone's house, myself has even given food to teachers to make sure that some of these, what they classify as vulnerable children, actually eat and have food or even a fruit to take home for the day. However, what you're saying with regards to those children being in the schools, the interesting thing is those children have been in the schools since this virus or this pandemic that they call it it has started. So the only way that they'll more than likely be at risk is if new children now come into the school, or new teachers now come into the school, or someone's been into contact with someone who's actually had the disease and actually then spread it amongst the school. For me personally, if I had children, there's no way they'll set foot back in none of their schools. No way. But yeah, that's my opinion. I'm going to deliver this bag and come in. The house is right there.
Okay. Well, it's quite interesting. I mean, because it's a dilemma, isn't it, for a lot of parents? And following on from what you know, our presenters have actually highlighted, in terms of the food, for instance, you know, what they may be eating, the chemicals that may be in the food.
Yes.
You know, we're faced with a real dilemma, all of us, you know, at this time, you know, on every level. Our lives are impacted on every single level, and it's very difficult for us. I don't know how long Cheryl's going to be, but maybe, you know, I don't know if Vashti or anybody else wanted to come in, because you've unmuted yourself.
Elaborate a bit more on what you do, because I know, say, you're due to do a presentation here in the very near future.
All right.
Oh, she's back. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, I had to do, that was my last delivery. I'm supposed to finish at 8 and look at the time, but it's fine, like, I don't mind.
Okay, the volume is not very good, so I don't know if you're going to be driving still, because, you know, you come in and you're dropping in and out, basically.
Hold on, I've just turned it up. Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I just had to turn up the volume, sorry.
Hi, Jean, can I ask a question or give information, or shall I let
Yes,
continue? Yeah, I just first of all want to just share information. It might be a bit of short notice, but on the 4th of June, there's an application. The London Mayor has got something called the Kitchen Social.
Please?
Kitchen Social Fund. So if you're based in Southwark and Lambeth, and you're an organisation, a community group, a tenants association, a charity, so the fund is set up for children who are in food hunger. So basically what will happen is that you can provide food and an activity, but they understand there's a lockdown. So usually be a physical activity alongside the food, so children don't feel stigmatized. That basically, if you had a community centre and they had, say, like they had an exercise class, and then you was actually what Cheryl was doing, providing food, the children are getting fresh food as well as an activity. And the application can be seen on the website Community Southwark. So for Southwark, Community Southwark are working with Kitchen Social Fund. So it's not limited just to charities, like say if you're a tenants association in Southwark and Lambeth, you can apply for that. It's the 4th of June, and the application is quite simple. So
those details in the chat room, please, Vashti.
Yeah, I'll write it down, but if anybody afterwards is thinking about it, because I went through like a lot of information sessions the last couple of weeks.
Okay.
Information about that. I'm just sort of looking at Cheryl, just inspired by what she's doing. And I know there's a lot of money there, and maybe the BME community, when I'm in these meetings, I don't see anybody else in these meetings. I'm the few black people there. So yeah, so I'll put it in the chat.
Thank
you.
Thank you. Is there any other question that people want to ask Cheryl?
Yeah, and I did want to ask about, she said tap into resources, but obviously some people are furloughed or have lost their jobs, and there's some teachers maybe who don't want to like go back to the institutions as well. So I'm just wondering down the line about setting up our own schools, does she have any resources if you did have a community group or had a group of parents who got together and want their children to be outside the system? Is there any resources then to help pay for, say, like the teachers? Because some people will obviously give their time, but realistically some people obviously as well will need paying as well. So is any resources that we're aware of at the moment to cover that?
Well, the interesting thing is what we have to do is then this is where the collaboration of, i.e. the resources come in, where we actually tap into. Right now, I was filling out a funding application, God knows why, because I'm useless at them. And so I went back in, I was like, oh, I've got some time now, let me tap back into it. There's no funding at the moment for anything activity-wise, if you wanted to run a summer scheme, for example. But there is millions and millions of pounds of funding out there for community organisations. So that's literally 3 of you, chair, secretary and treasurer. You put together a constitution which anyone can download online. You amend it to suit your needs, and then you can apply for some of this funding. Some of the funding ranges anywhere from 300 to 5,000 to 10,000 pounds. So you can add 3 people, 6, 9, 12 people can tap into that. If you have 9 of you, 3 individual pots, 9 of you times 3, all applying for the same fund to use the same church hall, why not go for it? That way, especially if you're a teacher or a retired teacher, something like that, they're doing turnaround times in less than 6 weeks. There you have some resources to pay yourself, because a lot of these funds are actually doing that. And a lot of them are to support a lot of the...
Oh dear. Oh dear. What we hope wouldn't happen.
We'll have to see. Hopefully we'll come back.
I'm just writing down, people may want to take down her number, 07856.
On their expertise and what they're giving back to our next generation. No one can eat for nothing. Air is out there, but you can't fill your belly on that. People got mortgages to pay. You need to make sure that parents are paying something. I'm not saying that you can charge them £125 a day or even a week, but something has to give. So that will balance it out where people can then afford to pay their own bills and their own salaries, travel costs, building costs, etc. So that's the way how I see it. And then there are also a lot of donors out there. We've got a lot of wealthy people in our community right here in the UK. We need to tap into them. John Boyega just did a video yesterday. Why are we not contacting him to say, do you know what, this, and this is going on? Would you help sponsor us? We're a community organisation. This is what we're doing for the local young people, whatever borough he lives in. You know, we've got so much here right at our footsteps. We need to actually utilise the resources we have. Does it mean even if we're going to Babylon, we've paid into this system as far as I'm concerned. Our parents paid into this system for 75 odd years. And then beyond, but prior to that, blood, sweat and tears. And we're the only community that aren't really filling out these applications and getting the money that is actually ours and for our children. And we seem to think that by asking people to give us donation of £5 and £10, it's going to work. It hasn't worked. It's not working. We need to be slightly more strategic with how we fundraise and how we get money in our pockets to do what we need to do. Because I'll tell you this as a fact. When I was running to be a local councillor and they come and blasted off my front door, how I found out why the police came and kicked in my front door was because I got voted in first of all, and the system was already corrupt. I wasn't supposed to be voted in. Then all of a sudden I was a drug dealer, me and my sons, and we were followed all kinds of stuff. Why? Because I wanted to sit at particular seats within the local authority. That was social services, policing and education, the 3 areas I still deal with now. When I realized how money is distributed throughout local authorities, all the Asians, all the Jewish people that it goes to, millions of pounds under the banner of BAME, and then as soon as they get that 3.5 million or 10 million, the black part is dropped and it's just the AME, and they're spending money within their communities. This is the same thing we need to do, duplicate the model and make sure that we're looked after first. Maybe give them £100 here and there so they can buy a samosa. But at the end of the day, we need to start being a bit more ruthless in how we're actually dealing with this battle out here. Yes. That's my answer, sorry.
No, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Somebody with asked if you could repeat how to get the funding, because you did cut out for a bit.
What there's what's one of them called? Groundworks has a funding pot right now. They have a funding pot of up to I think it's between it's 25,000, I believe. Right now, particularly for this, it's called groundworks.co.uk. The lottery has loads of different funding pots out there, particularly for COVID, for dealing with vulnerable children and adults. You have to remember that there's a lot of parents out there suffering with mental health right now because of the stress that they're under, because of the system in the first place. We've got a lot of psychologists, etc., within the community. If we can apply for funding to pay some of their fees, we can help go some way to fixing our parents too. So Groundworks is a funding part. The lottery, obviously, we all know. And there's a few little small ones. The Mayor's office has billions of funding pots available. You've also got, what's the other one called? I can't remember that, but Auntie Jean, once I do find them, because they're in my email, I'll send them to you and you can share them amongst your guests who are on the call today. But there's loads of them out there. Have I applied for any? I can't say I have, because I'm rubbish at funding applications and I've always got court papers to read. I'm probably losing out because I could pay myself a salary, but such is life, I will get over it.
Thank you. Anybody else got any questions? And yes, I'll as I look out for the email. I know you're busy, so I'll give you a few days and then I'll remind you if nothing's come through.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I come through?
Yes, there's nobody else at the moment.
Well, yes. Well, I was. There's one other thing I want to add, actually. The fact that
Who wants to ask a question? We just have you as an email address. Could you say your name, please?
Akram.
Oh, okay. Welcome.
Welcome. Yeah, great work you're doing, my sister. Great work in the community. And big up to you. Yeah, you see, one of the problems that I see that we're not addressing, okay, is the situation of taking charge of our community, and we're not doing that. I mean, our people, I mean, you know, there's a lot of our people who have no intention of leaving here. And what are we doing for them, you know, in the context of saying, well, setting up schools, setting up business, when they come out from university, do we have the opportunity to give them jobs? Do we have the opportunity to help to fund them in schools and so on and so forth? And as I said, it's one of the reasons I set up the cooperative. I say it's not for me because I don't have intention to be here. I hope to be out of this country. It's only because of my mother I'm here. But the fact is that for those who are here, they need to be working on something very constructive that will hopefully provide funds for them, hopefully will provide funds for them to set up their own schools, their own industries, whatever it is. But keep depending on the state. We haven't seen anything happen from the state in years, and I don't see any reason why we still continue to be begging for them. You know, and I keep referring to people, there's an organization in Spain called Mondragon. They had similar problems like what we have. And what they did was they went and set up their own institutions, their own schools, their own banks, their own businesses, right? And today, today after about 60 years, they now have an economy greater than many African countries, okay? So this is where we need to be. They can fund, they have their own university, own hospitals. What do we have? And they're only 25,000 people in the community, and we're almost 2 million, you know. So we need to be looking and pushing that agenda for us to come together and unite. Okay, one place where we can put our money, and that money funds all the other institutions that we have. Right? That is what they have done, and this is what I believe that we should be doing. But unfortunately, most of us are not looking at that idea. You see?
We need to stop you there, Brother Akram. Unfortunately, we've just got 5 minutes, and I just wondered if Cheryl had any last words that she wants to make before we finish. You know, this is an ongoing debate, you know, in terms of us looking at ourselves and doing for ourselves. And there's different things being done by different individuals in different locations. And what we need to do is like the spider's web, to actually find out where we need to be and link up with people. But Cheryl, can we just ask you for your final words before we finish?
No, absolutely. I agree with what the brother said, but my stance is still 75 years on, where we're getting there. We are working together, otherwise we wouldn't all be on this call right now. I think we are doing, I think we've done very well. When I look at when I had the UK Black Links Business Directory, the one and only black business directory in this country, we had over 40,000 black businesses in this country, and that's probably tripled, but they don't put those statistics. The government still use the same data about us as 3 million, which is nonsense, and even that was done by my husband back then. He had to go backwards to 1973, to then come forward, to then look at the influence of the Somali community, the Kenyan community, the South African community that did have a big influx. And that's the data government still use today. A lot of the data today was done by an organization some 20 years ago. So whenever people talk about data, it makes no sense to me. What I believe in, yes, we should have our own this, we should have on that, but I don't see any movement for that to happen. So right now, if we don't have it, then there's resources there that we are due. And we need to tap into it. Number one, parents need to build their village where they live. Right now, there's about 500 young people on my road where I live. They've got the police cordoning off the road. Why? Because the young people want to get they want to come together. Where are we as the adults? It's so funny. if you see the big people out there, they're like, yes, man. And that's like me. You've got the miseries in there. Oh, no, it's too loud. Why? You lot ain't speaking to the picnic them. You lot ain't speaking to the youth. I'm going now. I've finished. The shop is right there. I'm going to go and get something nice that I like to drink, and I'm going to go and chill with the young people and speak to them and find out what they want and what they have planned for their life and what they're doing. And then I'm going to my bed, because you know what the thing is, we have these isolated conversations. No disrespect to anyone that's doing anything out there, but until we tap into these youths, and I don't mean you're just your 5, 6-year-olds, I mean these 18, 19, 15-year-olds, and actually understand who they are, what they're doing. A lot of them, yes, they're on road doing what they're doing. So what we do is we find a way of getting them to invest their money in things that make sense, so they don't end up being part of that system. We find ways of, yes, building in Africa and the Caribbean. I can't wait to get on a flight in September to go back to Ghana to finish building my house. So this is the things that I look at, and I just plod along. Sorry, it's not nothing that I can give you. I just get on with the Black Child agenda, trying to shut down the system, but with an exit strategy, as the brother just said before. And I believe that all of us, whether it's independently or collectively, we need to have some kind of strategy to get out of this place. Because the only thing they've got planned for us is prison, mental health institutions and tablets, and whatever else they can find. Because like the lady said before, jobs are being lost, all these things are being lost, and we ain't got a strategy to make sure our children can employ themselves and those come out behind them, or we can employ them, or getting the hell out of here. Trust me when I say things are getting worse. You think so? We see they're restraining our kids already in schools. They're going to be killing our kids soon. And I think that is going to take before he sticks up, unfortunately. But that's my take and that's my stance. And I have to be real. I'm not going to sugarcoat nothing. I'm sorry if I have feelings, but really I'm not.
Well, we can't. The time for sugarcoating is done.
Okay, can I say something?
It's of course, Yvonne, you come in.
Thank you. I had a phone call the other day from somebody on LinkedIn who was saying the group of 7 people are raising money to get their own building. And I actually said to them, go ahead, get started, build your own thing, make it solid. There were lots of things that I was telling them about, sort of as Cheryl said, make your committee, get the money, get the funding, and get in. And I said, once you've done that and you know that you're rock solid, I said, there are people out there like ADPAC, like Cheryl with her Black Child Agenda, with like Charmaine Simpson and yourself, I mentioned you as well. And I said, because there are people out there who are really highly motivated, but they don't know about the people who are already being active in our community. So I think that each one of us, whenever we come across them, should tell them there are already people doing it. You can get mentored, pass the names on, give the name to a few organisations so they can see where they fit in. But I always like to say, as much as you can't see it, there are people out there. I said, walk with me for 24 hours. There are movers and shakers doing all kinds of things in every field. I just like to talk it up positive. But thank you, everybody, for your contribution. I've really enjoyed listening to and listening to the engagements. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Very, very quickly there, Auntie Jean. Please don't forget, I actually do design program sheets for maths and English for youngsters at the primary school level. So Auntie Jean has got my email address.
Can you put it in the chat? Put it in the chat, please, Paul.
Yes. Right. Hang on a minute. I'll put it. Yeah.
Okay. Is there anybody else who wants to have a quick word before we finish? Paul, did you? Patrick, did you want to come back in anything at all?
Well, Patrick can do a finish off, and then Empress Divine as well too.
Yeah. And yes, Empress Divine and
Dawn. Dawn.
Dawn. Yes. Patrick.
Yeah. Just wanted to say that basically how I work is I design diet plans for people for various illnesses that they have, and I put together programs to get people well. So don't care what the situation is, don't care what illness they have, I basically design programs to get them well. And I've been very successful till now. So yeah, if anyone who would like to contact me, they certainly can. My telephone number I've left in the chat, and my email as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much. Empress Divine, are you there?
Hi, greetings.
Greetings.
Yes.
Your last words.
Okay. Well, you know, I'm all about health and well-being. So people can engage with me regarding having a body MOT so that we can get to the nitty-gritties of what's going on regarding their health. I put my information in the chat, which is my email and Instagram. So I'm quite happy to engage with those who are interested to understand more of what's going on with their health, improve upon it, get the immune system strong so that we can do all what we are here to do.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Wonderful,
Thank you.
wonderful.
Okay, Kunga, we can see you unmuted. Is it a quick question you'd like to say?
Yeah, I know time is going, so it was really just to thank yourselves again. Powerful words, powerful presentation. I'm mad fan of what Cheryl's doing. I just wanted to say, yeah, as someone that's taught in the college FE sector, largely GCSE to our young ones. Does she have any concerns? I know maybe we don't have enough time to really go deep in it, but the calculated grades, it's not so much predicted now we've been asked to do, it's calculated grades. And so the idea of remote learning has definitely affected our young ones who don't have access to laptops and the resources, even internet in some of their homes. So does she know if there is a movement that can lobby the AQA and OCR that just in case those students may well not get the grades expected because of the reasons she's already mentioned? It's really important. As I said, I taught a few that don't have the laptops and whatnot, and the parents themselves aren't really engaging with the colleges themselves. And I think the colleges are definitely failing because obviously some of our students want to go into university, and this definitely will hinder that. So yeah, just some guidance on that. I've offered mine to my own institution. I finished with them on Friday. So it's really looking forward to this period, June, July, and obviously September.
The thing is, I'll be quick. Can I just be really quick on that? The unfortunate thing for children that have not been able to access the information, you have to just look at it like this. That time is going to be past. By the time they go through the appeals process, it can take up to what, 2 to 3 weeks. There's going to be a backlog. By the time they probably get to be heard that their appeal will be in January. That's the reality. This has not been done by accident. This is by clear design to fail because too many of our children are academically doing well. So how do you get them back in their place, so to speak? So like I said earlier, the best thing to do, and like you have said, is if you're already working in a school, or you know teachers that are on site in schools, some that look like us, some that maybe not, then that's our responsibility as a community to really reach out and speak to them. I get them calling me because parents are concerned, and I have several groups, and obviously my Facebook, when I'm not blocked and banned. But to tap into them, it's by design. They're not, if they don't get those predicted grades or expected grades or whatever because the teacher don't like them, then that's going to be what it is. By the time they go through the appeals process, they've already lost their place at that university. It's no accident, not at all, which is why I say take them out, go private, and then that's the only way you're going to be able to do it. Unless there's teachers like you that can reach out to these people. And by way of lobby group, we've actually got another group that we are a lobby group. We've just set up a new lobby group that I've been thinking about for the last 5 years. Now this has given me the time to do that. And what you've just described is exactly what we're going to be doing. And also about IPP. Well, I'm just waiting for the logo to hurry up and be designed, and we should be putting out some of our campaign, if not next week, the week after. And we're going to smash down social media, and we're going to be speaking to a lot of our black, what they call celebrities here in the UK as well, to actually make sure our voices are heard, whether it's from education, the prison system, mental health, drama and acting in the theatre, pay structures, 9 to 5, everything. We're going to be challenging the whole lot.
Okay, well, thank you, Cheryl. We are very, struck for time. We have final words from Dawn before we go. Unmute.
I've been greetings again. I've put my contact details in the comment box. If you need any further discussion on the African spirituality, the foraging, herbs, wild foods, such as recipes, I've also put a link in on herbs to raise your immune system in such time. And I look forward to coming back on the group again.
I think we would want to invite all our presenters who are here tonight back again for another time. As you can see, there's a lot of information that we shared tonight, and you know, we could go on much longer, but we really have to stop now. So I just need to thank everybody for their attendance. Auntie Jean, last words.
Before we go, if everybody can go that want to save the chat, you can save the chat to your own computers by going to the 3 dots at the bottom where you actually do the write up. Put in save, and you can save the chat. That way you can get all the information, the emails, addresses, etc. To your email address, or no, sorry, to your computer, so you don't have to be writing it all down. I want to say a great big thank you to Patrick Montague for your, as I say, very, very, very interesting and eye-opening presentation. Also to Dawn, thank you very much, Dawn Taylor, Sister Dawn, in as well. Also to, was it Empress Divine? Empress Divine, thank you very much, and looking forward to seeing you on Sunday. Dawn will be back with us on Sunday at the African Culture Market between the same time, 7 till 10. And also big thank you to our very own sister Cheryl Phoenix for her hard working, still working, and even though she's supposed to be going home, she'll go out.
I know, it's Friday. I'm going to join the kids. What? The kids are having a better time than me. What am I going to sit in my house doing? Nah, I've been at court all week, so I'm going to go have some fun with the young people.
Social distancing.
Oh, whatever. But take care, guys. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so sorry it was a bit sketchy. It's like, this is my Friday night.
We got there in the end, and
yeah, we're going to invite you back. We're going to invite you back.
Cool.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
Thank you,
everybody.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next week.